So here it is. This is the Barnett Whitetail Pro. Last weekend I got going and quite impressed with it. I'm going to be shooting some more bolts today, which we brought the cameras along. We're going to take a peek, look at the accuracy of this bow, because I was impressed with it last week. It's got a decent scope, illuminated 4x32. Some unique features. It's a light bow, 6.9 pounds. It's quite narrow. We're talking 17 3/4 inches from axle, point axle. Overall, it's crank ready, though I don't think you need a crank on it. It has a step-through riser, lightens up the front end of the crossbow, as you can see. There's not a lot of weight there. It's got a CNC machined aluminum flight track. Definitely something that I like to have if I'm buying a crossbow and spending some money. I'm not interested in the molded tracks. Overall, you know, what am I impressed with so far? Trigger mechanism, their trigger technology, it's some of the best in the industry. No play in the trigger, very little weight to squeeze that trigger. Easy to adjust to. Upside down toothbrush, their bolt retainer system seems to work. This, typical of the Barnett bows, it shoots a 22-inch, this is of course a carbon headhunter bolt. They're the only ones, I believe, in the industry that have wandered from the 20-inch bolt. Theirs are 22, pretty well everybody else is 20. I'd say overall, we've got ourselves a decent bow here. I'll get in a little bit more detail on the chair there. So let's wrap it up here, and we're going to go take a look at just things in a little bit more detail. A couple of things that Barnett likes to say about this bow is they talk a lot about their trigger tech, frictionless release technology. I'm a believer in it. It's a really nice trigger system. Very low poundage squeeze on that trigger, no play. Easy to get used to. I shot enough bolts there last weekend. I was actually pretty impressed with it. I would say the other thing that is also a feature that's unique to them is if you take a look at, sort of, I don't know if you can see it there, but it looks like an upside down toothbrush. And of course that is their soft lock floating bristle arrow retainer. And it basically holds the shaft in place. I think it's a great idea. Pretty smooth to load. This has 187 pound draw weight. You know, there is a setup here for a crank, but I don't think you need the crank. The 187 pound draw is easy to handle with the rope cocking device. I had no problem whatsoever. But then again, you know, with the step-through riser, you're a little closer to the ground, and you know, less distance to cock the strings. I actually have my cocking device a little bit shorter than probably most people. I actually use my hands to pull the strings up to the cocking device, so I've got about an inch advantage right off the bat. So the other thing about the step-through riser too is it keeps your weight you know, farther back toward your shoulders. You don't want a lot of weight up front. So I just find that this bow here is easy to hold. It's easy to support up front. It doesn't feel heavy. Then we get to the anti-dry fire trigger. It prevents a dry fire. So what happened was I either loaded a bolt not making full contact with the release mechanism, unless for some reason when I cocked it, I didn't cock it into the full position. I think there's 2 clicks that you've got to go through. But anyways, we'll certainly remember both in the future. When loading the carbon shaft there, I usually push it right down till it feels solid. and I want it to, you know, to hit the very end of the trigger release mechanism. So, and as a result, when I went to fire, the trigger was loose. I was able to get the cocking ropes onto the strings, and I did reload it up to where it was in its full position, and also the safety automatically goes on. So the other feature is the CNC machine aluminum flight track there. I wouldn't buy a bow unless it had a CNC machine flight track. So I'm not a believer in the molded tracks as being that accurate, or as accurate as the machined tracks are. So another good feature is the guard, the finger guard there. It's just a good reminder to keep your fingers out of the flight track, and the foregrip there is just below it. So I felt that the foregrip was really easy to hang on to. And of course the 4x32 illuminated scope. It has both the green and the red illuminated retinals. This is a quality scope. I'm used to the Leopold and the Nikons. You know, I've had some decent scopes, and this one here I was quite impressed with the quality. Certainly a lot better quality in the optics, and I found it you know, to be no problem at 200 feet. I was getting good shots. The other thing to remember is this bow shoots not 20 but 22-inch bolts, and because 20 is pretty standard in the industry. And that bolt there, that's called a Headhunter. It's made by Barnett, and it's 22 inches. It's a carbon shaft. I think it's about 435 grains. So I have a half a dozen of those. Two come with the package. So besides the crank cocking device there, we get two 22-inch bolts. We get a side mount quiver. You don't see it on here right now, but it does come with the bow. And lubrication wax. You got your string dampeners. Overall, I think we covered everything. I think it's time now. Let's go out and let's shoot some bolts. And there is my target. Just so you can see it here. Just to the left, just beyond the tripod there. You can see it. So I walk toward it. But anyways, gives you a bit of an idea there. So that's what we're going to be shooting at. And of course, we'll be shooting from way back there. So let's get started. So we got several distances we're shooting from here. So this is kind of where we're starting from. You can see down at the target there, and we're going to be probably eventually back down there. Just looking at our target there, and now we're going to swing it around, and we're going to be shooting from that position right there. So we're now shooting over the 150-foot mark. And we're shooting from this position right here. Good one. That was a good shot. So this is going to be my longest shot of the day here. So we're over 100, about 170, 180 feet there. We're going to shoot from this position here. Again, we're just trying to dial everything in here, so we'll give her a shot. So this looks like it's going to be, well, could be our last shot here. I've adjusted the scope, and we're about 190 feet from the target. You can see it there. And I'm up against an embankment, so I can't go any farther. I went back the following day to the target pit with the tape measure. I wanted to check the distances that I'd paced by foot. After checking the distances, I set up a field bag and I got some shots at it. God, this thing's accurate. Holy. I don't think of myself as a crack shot. This is just one heck of an accurate crossbow.
Well, people used to tell me that everything must pass. Nothing